Hello, welcome to the first week of HI2009. This week we're setting up the subject. I've made 2 video recordings. This first one lays out what to expect within the subject and how to get through it successfully. So I'm talking about how my slides are set up, what the expectations of you are during the semester, and about the assessment that you're going to face. In the second video recording, I'm setting up ideas that are going to help us through the subject, including definitions of our key terms. So, let's get on with it. I try to lay out my lectures and PowerPoints in ways that make it easy for students to engage with the subject. Each week, I have 3 PowerPoint slides that come at the start of the lecture. The first is this one, the outline. It's supposed to tell you what you're facing in terms of content within the lecture, and it's something that you can refer back to if you think I've deviated or things don't connect up. The next are the key questions that I want you to be thinking about this week and using this material to think through. You may not come to firm answers on any of them. That's fine. It's engaging with them, and it's thinking about what you can extract from the material in the videos and in the reading. If you find you have better key questions for the week, bring them to the tutorial, and I'm sure that other students will be delighted to engage with them. This week, I want you in this first video to work out what you have to do to get through the subject successfully. In the second video, we're going to theorize war, and I want you to think about what you think war is, what its key elements are, and what distinguishes it from other forms of violence and other forms of conflict. The third slide you'll see every week is this one, the further reading slide. Here I put in the sources that I've used to construct the lecture and that I think could be useful to you if you find you want to pursue an essay topic related to the lecture topic. It's a great place for you to come back to when you're doing research, if you're doing research on a topic related to a lecture, and it's also a great place for you to chase up ideas if something intrigued you during the lecture. So let's get on with these things in this first part. We're going to look at the weekly structure of the subject, what you need to do and what you need to commit to doing each week. We'll look at the time expectations associated with that, and we'll explore this idea of high flex and what that means for you in this subject. At the end, because it's important for you to plan out your semester and how to get these things in, we're going to look at the assessment details. Again, the assessment details in particular are available within the subject outline, and within the subject outline, there's a recipe and rubric, clear directions on what you need to do to produce good assessment items, and the criteria sheet that will be used to mark your assessment items so you can make sure that you've covered everything you're supposed to. You've already discovered at least one video associated with this subject, and you need to keep up with viewing your videos. You need to watch them before you come to the tutorial. They're available each week in the Learn JCU folders. There's a link there that will take you through to YouTube, because I understand that students are familiar with YouTube tools and that that's an effective way to manage them. Among those tools on YouTube are ones that allow you to set the pace of the video. If you want to save time and watch at double speed and that works for you, you're welcome to do that. The PowerPoint slides are also available within that weekly folder, and if you choose to skim through the PowerPoint slides rather than engage with the video, that's your decision. You will miss out on material that I don't just read the slides within the video. And conversely, it's worth keeping an eye on the slides during the video because I don't read every word. The required reading for each week is not within the weekly folder. It's within that readings list that you connect to within Learn JCU. So you do need to look in 2 places each week. You need to look in the weekly folder where you will find the links to the video, the PowerPoint slides, and before tutorial, the tutorial worksheet for that week. There's that folder, so there's that folder with those items in it. You also need to go to that readings list and find your required reading and to get through it before you come to tutorial. These things are designed to give you tools to think with and tools to engage with the tutorial when you get there. Sometimes weeks get out of control. Sometimes you can't be quite as prepared as you want to be. If you haven't quite got to the video or you haven't quite got to the readings, but you can get to tutorial, then still come. It's better for you, and it can be very useful for your classmates if you ask them good questions and they explain the content to you. There are 2 tutorials each week in this subject, both available in person and online, and you can choose which of those 2 you attend. In my view, you're best coming to the tutorial, whether you come in online form or in person. You do have the option, though, which we'll come to shortly, of working through the tutorial worksheet on your own each week. If you really can't make it to either of the tutorials, well, at least you've got that option. Now, these things take time to do, and there are expectations that you will devote a considerable amount of time each week to this subject. The official JCU policy is that a student should expect to spend 10 hours per week, or 10 to 12 actually the policy, but 10 hours a week on each subject. And you can see the logic in that. A full-time job is 40 hours a week, full-time load is 4 subjects. 10 hours a week on 4 subjects gets you up to the equivalent of a full-time job. Some of that time I help you with. So you have the video material each week to view, and there'll be about an hour's worth broken up into manageable chunks. You will have about 1 or 2 hours worth of reading to do in preparation for the tutorial, and then you have the tutorial itself, which is 1.5 hours in length. I also expect you to spend 10 minutes a week on the weekly quiz, which is not much each week, but it does add up over semester. So I have taken that into my calculations in terms of how much time you have left. You need to do between 5.5 and 6.5 hours of independent study each week, starting week 2. That's between 66 and 78 hours of independent study across the 12 weeks of semester. 2 hours of that I'm counting as independent, but is actually going to be spent doing those 10-minute quizzes. The rest of the time is spent working towards your other assessment items, which means I can expect to see quite a bit of work reflected in those assessment items. And it means you need to keep an eye on making sure you have time in your schedule to work at them and that you are keeping on track with them throughout the semester. Now, I mentioned that you can come to tutorial in person, you can come to tutorial online, or because JCU is moving to HiFlex, well, except now it's called JCU Flex, but whatever it's called, we're moving to it, and it's a way of giving students options about how to handle their study. You're not locked into any mode within this subject. Students last semester were brilliant in that those who came to tutorial, if they had a week they were feeling unwell, if they had a cough or cold, chose for the week that they didn't want to appear in person to come online and attend tutorial that way. And you can do that. If you want to come in person, but there's the odd week where you can't get to campus or something's happened and you don't want to be exposed to other people, then you can choose to dial in, to attend online. There's no barrier to that. However you are enrolled, you can be in the classroom, you can be online. And you can also choose what is, in my view, the more difficult route and study completely independently. Each week I will put the worksheets we're using in tutorial up on Learn JCU. If you really don't want to associate with other students for some reason, or if it is not possible for you to make either of the tutorial times, then you can work through this subject independently. Doing so requires a lot of commitment and excellent time management. And it can get quite lonely, and it can be much harder to engage with the subject without hearing from other students and being able to ask direct questions. But it is possible, and if that's the way you want to study or have to study, then let's make it work. The advantage of the weekly quiz is that it's a chance each week for you to check up on how you're going with that week's material. And if you are having problems, to get in touch or to shift your mode of attendance to something that works better for you. JCU Flex offers you choices about how you engage with the subject. Please engage with the subject and make good use of these opportunities. Here are the assessment details, which are also available within the subject outline. And within the subject outline, there is a clear description of each assessment item, what you're expected to do to create it, and how you will be graded on it. Have a look at those things. The weekly quizzes, I think, are probably fairly straightforward. There are 5 questions, you have 10 minutes. The questions are designed to test your engagement with the material, not just your ability to recall it. And I'm not using browser lockdown because, in my opinion, it's a bit useless these days. But it means that I've designed the quiz so that cross-screening is of limited use to you. I want you to have gone through the video material, done the reading, come to tutorial, and then probably after a cup of tea, a bit of break, go and do the quiz to establish that, yes, you know what we discussed, and you've come up with your own ideas about it. But when I say have a cup of tea, do it, you have options there as well. The quiz will be open for 6.5 days. I close at midnight before the next tutorial. Again, there's flexibility. You make your own decisions about how you're going to engage with that aspect of the course. The second assessment item is a poster, and there will be a separate video running through design considerations for posters. There will also be a separate video on conducting research in this subject. That video is useful for the poster and for the research essay. For the poster, you need to select your topic, and there are a wide range of topics. You can select a person and construct a biographical account of them in poster form. You can select a particular engagement and analyze it using a poster, or you can select a military concept and explain and analyze it in poster form. There are requirements you're expected to fulfill for each of those activities, and we can discuss that in tutorial as well. The design element is important. It's not just another way of presenting an essay. You can use the poster form to communicate, and thinking about design and how to present not just words but also images is going to be important to you. The design considerations you will apply to your poster are useful when you are creating websites, when you are creating PowerPoint slides. Being in control of, admittedly simple, design is going to be important for you in your professional lives. The last assessment item is probably quite familiar. It's a research essay. I haven't released the topics yet, but I will do so shortly. This requires independent research. Again, there's that video on research and how to do it, and the topics can be personalized. I will set out a list of potential topics, but you don't need to stick to it. You need to consult me if you are moving on from that list, if you are adjusting a topic to apply it to a different situation, or if you're coming up with something new. You need to consult me so that I can give you advice on whether it's possible, whether there is the material to support it. And that's how to get through the subject successfully. Work out how you are going to engage with it in terms of when you're going to find time in your schedule to do the things you need to do each week, and how you're going to find time to get through those assessment items. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in tutorial in week 2.